Hello, everyone. So, today I would like to talk about impulsivity for people with borderline personality disorder. We get this really intense impulse to do all kinds of different destructive things that can be really hard to control. Some of the common ones for myself have been self-harm, breaking things, specifically phones. I've thrown a phone out the window on the highway. I've thrown a phone into the creek. I've actually snapped one in half with my bare hands because of impulsivity. I've done things. Another really common impulse I have is running away, where I'll just up and leave to a whole different city or state and don't tell anyone. I'll just leave all my problems as they are and go. Or I'll just quit my job without a 2-week notice or anything new to fall back on. I just get overwhelmed and don't want to deal with it, so I run. Then there's promiscuity, where I get these intense sexual urges to distract me from other feelings. And of course, addiction, alcohol, drugs, tobacco, gambling, adrenaline, trying to fix broken people. Anything that can quickly change, distract, or mask how we feel. So why do we do these things? Well, from my understanding, there are two main parts to the reasoning. The first is that our trauma put us into a perpetual state of fight or flight mode. We now have a really hard time relaxing and feeling safe in our own skin. And some of the tiniest things can trigger us to feel like we're being attacked. Very similar to PTSD, except with BPD, it's more of an emotional flashback that we usually don't even recognize as such, instead of a full-on visual flashback. But nonetheless, it triggers our fight or flight response. And this triggers the other part of our impulsivity, intrusive thoughts based on learned behavior. In therapy, they talk about creating a toolbox full of coping skills to use when you're triggered. Well, most of us with BPD have created a toolbox of destructive behavior. At some point, we learned alcohol makes these feelings go away. Hurting myself can change this situation. I can always just run away from my problems. Or whatever it may be. These things get stored in the computer of our minds as solutions to problems. So when problems arise, our brains give us these thoughts. When we listen to these thoughts enough, they become habits. And our brain starts to tell us this is the solution to everything. And we get those thoughts all the time. So when our fight or flight mode is triggered, our brain fires up with its habitual solutions to create an overwhelming impulse that can be very hard to ignore. So what can we do to change this? Well, to start, we need to ground out of fight or flight mode. Our fight or flight mode is very strongly linked to our root chakra. Chakras are energy centers in our bodies that store levels of our consciousness. The first one, known as the root, is all about safety, stability, and having our basic needs met. It develops during the first 5 years of life. And any trauma can affect it because it affects our ability to feel safe. But trauma that happens during its development can block it off completely. Clearing that block is truly life-changing for those who have it. Of course, facing your fears and processing your trauma, reparenting your inner child, over time will do this. But there are several simple things that can clear and balance your root chakra and change your relationship to safety and stability. Eating red fruit or root vegetables regularly. Spending time in nature, particularly walking barefoot outside, or gardening, where you're really connecting to the earth itself physically. Asking a loved one for a foot massage, or going to get a pedicure. Anything that puts attention on your feet. Seriously, if you have a blocked root chakra, you probably don't take good care of your feet and might even hate them. Like, it's my least favorite body part, definitely. And I've always hated my feet being touched or anything like that. But when I learned its connection to the root chakra, and I started to work on that, I realized the effect that it really does have. Your feet are the physical base and foundation for your body. And when you give your feet love, you give your root chakra love. Meditating specifically on the root chakra, or saying its mantra, LAM, L-A-M. Yeah, you can just say that over and over and it will open and balance your root chakra really quickly. It has a huge impact, as well as using the affirmation, I am safe and stable and I have all I need. I know it sounds silly, but I promise if you actually give these things an honest try, your fight or flight response will dial way back and become much harder to trigger. It'll become much easier for you to feel calm, relaxed, and safe. Now to deal with those intrusive thoughts. Your brain is like a computer that responds to you with what it's learned. That thought to do something destructive is literally from the same program that gives you the answers to your crossword puzzle. Your mind is just giving you what it has learned could work for that situation. Some of the stuff our brain learned is wrong. Some of it might have actually saved us at one point, but it's no longer helpful. To get rid of those patterns, you have to identify them when they come up. I find it useful to give each pattern a name. My masochistic thoughts are Bob, I got drunky, runner, etc. Whatever you want to call them, just as long as you identify them as a pattern you created, instead of identifying with them as you. Those thoughts are not you. They are not from your soul or your consciousness. They are just outdated data in the computer of your mind. Once you identify them, move your consciousness back to your breathing, the sun, the task in front of you, just anything that is physically there and real in the present moment. When you fight with or engage those thoughts, you tell your mind they are you and valid. When you identify them as what they are and move your attention away from them, you tell your brain that thought is not useful. It takes some time, but if you stick with it, those thoughts will show up less and less to the point where they don't show up anymore because your brain doesn't register them as useful anymore. This is literally how you empty your negative toolbox. Now, at the same time, you need to refill that toolbox with positive coping skills. Taking a walk, listening to music, writing, painting, playing with your dog. In the beginning, it's helpful to actually write out a list of things that you know actually help you. And keep that list in your purse or wallet. Still, sometimes relapse is part of recovery. So don't be too hard on yourself if you do slip. Reprogramming your mind is a process, and it takes time. But when you continuously make effort, you continuously make progress. That's basically what I wanted to address today. But I really hope it helps, because this is what helped me. And trust me, my impulses have ran my life for a very long time, and I've just recently gotten a grip on them. And these are the things that helped me to do that. So hopefully they can help you too. But until next time, be good to yourself.